live.
Kanye would probably come on.
Kanye.
He'd be like mad tweeting or mad posting in the comments.
Okay, so if I remember correctly,
Kanye would probably come on.
Damn, was on. Was recording and we didn't even know it was recording. Okay. Hi. Welcome. It's episode 88. This is a live podcast with my friend, my bestie, my love, Chaney Jones.
88's a pretty good one.
I know, right? Wait, is this 88? Shit, no, it's 89. Damn it, y'all. I already messed up. I got one on deck that I'm finishing editing.
I know that life. I know that life all too well. I dropped a book on the floor and now I'm not going to get it because I didn't know we were alive.
I know. I went to go heard
get
myself say Kanye. Go get it. You're good. Hi, everyone. This is Ruby Tuesday. And oh, look, I got my own notification that we've gone live. Anyways, yeah, so we decided to record a podcast earlier today, and then we decided to go live with it. And you guys, I'm at like 840 people, I think, that follow me on YouTube. And once I get to 1,000, I can monetize. And I'll probably be more interesting at that point. I need to put our vlog together. We just didn't take enough video, you know? We didn't know. It was
not yet. We have to practice more.
I have 854. Damn. I think honestly, I just think I got a new one. I think it was at 853, which would mean I'd need 147 to get to 1,000.
It's done. It's already done.
Okay. Hi. How are you? Talk to me. Introduce yourself.
I am doing okay. Thank you for letting me get the book off the floor. I don't know what part of my horoscope or OCD, but it would have bothered me out of the corner of my eye. And then it would have slowly built up that I forgot about it. But then I would have had this overlaying sense of anxiety that I didn't know what it was from. Like it would
That's really intense just from a book.
Yeah, it's just anything being in a spot that it shouldn't be. So it was like, I don't really like my books on the floor. They're never on the floor unless I'm researching like Carrie Bradshaw from Homeland and I have them all the way around me. So it just felt like, I don't want that down there. Like it was where it shouldn't be. It was a really odd thing that I didn't realize how much it bothered me until I was like, oh, I can't get it.
That cannot be our Scorpio. It's got to be something else because I'm not a hoarder by any means, but I think it's like my ADD and my slight autism. I saw a video about this on TikTok last week that like people with ADD basically make like little like containers of things, but like you know exactly where they are. And I don't know, just this TikTok was showing this person that had all these different containers of things. And I'm looking around my spare room and there's just all these containers of things.
Same. I almost am, when you were saying it, I was looking around at all these little, and if anyone else looked at it, they would be like, whew, like what is happening here? But if you asked me for a specific thing, I could tell you exactly where it was at.
I know exactly where that's at. Okay, so I guess is the theme of this episode. We're just going to rant a little bit.
You know what first grinds my gears? Dropping my books on the floor.
You know what grinds my gears? Saying grinds my gears. And I know you're going to do it for the rest of the podcast.
I don't really like when people do cartoon voices of certain things. It makes me really uncomfortable for them. So when people mock like Beavis and Butthead, or like if they do like a Peter Griffin impression, or if people like mock Elmo when Elmo was a thing, there's certain things that when I watch grown-ups do, I never like it. Like it's so uncomfortable to me.
When was Elmo a thing though?
There was a time where Elmo superseded little kiddom, where it was like in the zeitgeist, where people all like that look Tickle Me Elmo doll was everywhere.
Oh, right. That was a Christmas. You know, they don't do that as much anymore. That kind of like, remember when we were young and there was always just like this one present every year that always, I guess maybe I'm not involved in
That
that.
moms would like kill each other for.
Right. No, really
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
And there
The
were
one
movies about it, like what's that one movie with Schwarzenegger and they're fighting for
Jingle All the
some
Way.
Jingle All the Way. I just don't feel like they do that anymore.
Parents aren't what they used to be. They aren't going to put it all on the line like that
But
anymore.
it's like an interesting like supply and demand, like pre-internet days, you they made things they created that supply and demand, I guess.
Those were
Because
like the first bits of loosh and psyops that
well,
we
I mean,
thought
there had to be
before the
Lucius and
internet,
psyops going on all the time. Don't
like
you think?
Teddy Ruxpin, like Cabbage Patch. And then by the time it got to your guy, that was my generation. Those were like the big ones that like sold out the store. But by the time it got to your guys' generation, that's where I'd imagine like Tickle Me Elmo was one of those things that the
I think
store
that was
couldn't
like the
keep in
next.
stock.
I don't think that was my age. I don't know.
The one younger, 10 years younger than you.
Right, probably an Alex situation.
Yeah. So what was your toy? What was
Like
your
back then.
generation's toy? Yeah.
Oh,
What
I don't
sold out of the
know.
store?
I don't remember. We were like, I remember experiencing like my brother really wanting like an N64 or like some sort of PlayStation. So like that's almost what it kind of transitioned to now that we talk about it out loud, that it was this like Christmas toy, like something you would buy at Toys R Us tangible.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my generation, it flipped into the video game and like the video game console.
But then for all of us collectively, we all stood in lines for iPhones. And
I
it
don't
would have
think I
had
ever did, but yes, like collectively we did.
like that became the thing that we were a generation raised on that thing. So then we were like, okay, there's only a finite amount of things. And even though we know there's going to be enough to get to me by the time I need it first.
Right. It's all about the instant gratification. And it's kind of like that me mentality, like me. What was I doing to you the other day? The Veruca Salt, like, I want it, daddy. I want a Oompa Loompa and I want it now.
I
That's
want
how
the
all of
world.
us are.
I want the whole world. Yeah, it is that. It's like that instant gratification, but even if you can buy it for yourself now, can Amazon get it to you quick enough?
I'm in this weird place where I don't want to buy things online. Like I want to touch them. But then I get to the store and I touch them and then I go home and I'm like, okay, I like that. I'll go buy it online now. Like instead of doing the whole backpack situation. I ended up buying a backpack in person this weekend, but I want to touch things, but we don't have any supply anymore, so I can't touch it.
You have to almost search out where you would even go to be able to touch the fabric of the thing or see if the zipper is worthy or see what the metal, if it's, can I bend this with my arm? I don't want to get it if I feel like I can bend it. And, I sometimes write comedy and I think how I would write for somebody who wasn't me, but I think a funny joke would be for like a hot girl in stand up to be like, I don't know what all my friends are complaining about ordering clothes off Amazon. They always look perfect on me, like just like the picture. Like it would be something that only a cunty girl could say, that ordering any clothes from Amazon actually turn out how they should turn out, or anything from that matter anymore. It's not quite like the picture.
This is really random, but somebody commented this in the live chat and I wanted to ask you, have you ever seen the videos? They float around on TikTok a lot recently where the individual is taking a Palm Trio phone, talking about old phones. Do you remember the Palm Trio?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about this Palm Trio, allegedly, and it's some specific one, I think, that when like there's a phone here and the individual's holding the Palm Trio. And so let's pretend there's a Berenstain Bears book right
Mm-hmm.
here. Well, in this timeline currently, it says Berenstain Bears. I remember it as Berenstein Bears, the way in which it's pronounced, Stein at the end. And so allegedly, if you hold this Palm Trio over the book in the like camera of the Palm Trio, you see Bernstein, EIN. Like the
Like it
Palm
allows you through the
Trio.
veil.
Yes. And so
Like,
I'm
yeah.
so intrigued by this, but I'm not intrigued enough to like do anything about it, which is basically like, welcome to my fucking life. You know, like you can spark my interest and then I fucking forget about it because I need another dopamine high. But I'd like to ask anyone who's listening, A, do you have a Palm Trio that you would be willing to send me, or to like do essentially, you and I both know that they could be adjusting the video and one part of it and then laying that on top of the Palm Trio, you know, it could all be fake.
Well, you were also telling me something like in the last week or so that like old iPods are going for tons of money. What is this?
What is this? Like we heard it all the time growing up that eventually like the same thing would come back into style. And I think you and I were both people that like never really gave a fuck about what was in style or not, but you just heard that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like when bohemian stuff came into like being cool again. And so I feel like we've gone in this cycle or this loop and we're back at like the 90s a little bit. And so I mean, are we just like going through the 90s and 2000s fashion and what was cool? I don't know. There's a book I have called not the fourth kind. Something that talks just about the cycles that like the country's going through, that like everything's very cyclical. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I sometimes wonder if it's like, is there metals inside, or like how you're saying, like, let's say this certain iPhone could see past a veil. Is stuff on this susceptible to not being changed somehow because it's held in different metals than the phones that are made now? Like there must be something to
Like,
it,
do they want
technology,
something
but
out of it?
yeah,
Or
alchemically,
I didn't
like,
even think about it like that. I just thought,
or the hardware inside, because everything's gotten twice as small and half or twice as fast and half the size, is the technology in it actually way more. So if you could somehow change just the programming in it, would you be able to add, because it's still so much hardware, if you could change the software on it, could you really put that much more on it? I don't know. It's just interesting on why they'd want it
well,
back.
think about like, okay, I told you I didn't want to talk about this type of shit tonight because I have a lot recently. But very, very quickly, if there's an infinite number of universes and they do compound in some sort of way, then if this is 100 different universes that it's now into one, like, is the technology of my old pink iPod like maybe a little different from my timeline, like something cool and tangible and like something you want out of it? I just thought
Ooh,
it
if you
was
have one of those, you're from a
why.
specific age. And so if you take biblical shit or 17 shit or whatever kind of shit, there's all kinds of shit that says your generation will be the generation. What if there's something about the staple of those things that we're the only generation that has those things? Our parents didn't get those iPods, and 20 somethings don't have them. It's
What if
like
even
very stapled.
what if like, the director or Tyler, whatever you want to call it, like sometime in the future comes back through the quantum internet and is like, there's something in your iPods. Like, do you have your old iPod? I don't know.
Do you have YouTube?
Do you have the YouTube version? Because that's not the one I mean
She
whatsoever.
want lemon.
No, the other way I was going with this, you've seen Ready Player One, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize this until recently that that's based on a book. And then I didn't even realize until after that there's a book called Ready Player Two that I purchased for myself. I think Alex is about to read it as well. But when I realized this was a book and I need to read it, but like, do you remember in it, it's that Elon Musk type of character, and everyone is so obsessed with learning everything about this individual
Yeah.
and all of the things they learn about the individual are these like anchors almost that we have, like Back to the Future references, all these like different like pop culture in person type of things. And so I don't know, I was just thinking about Ready Player One and how this like 90s thing, this 2000s thing is this like nostalgia thing, like making us go back, making us feel like the last time we felt alive, or the like when things impact. I just feel like they're prepping us to go into the metaverse more and more, and like these are going to be these anchors that like you think of fondly.
I sometimes think if the metaverse, if we're all, there's nothing you can do about it. Let's say we're being forced into it. The people that don't understand computers at all and what's happening to them are going to lose their fucking minds inside. But the people that understand computers too much and have never felt the real sun on their skin are not going to have any real conceptualization. Like their drug, the way they take in the world, the eyes they see it through, aren't going to be the drug everyone wants to take inside the metaverse. Like what the computer will really want is the people who remember what it's like to run with sweat on their brow for no reason, and what it's like for a fishing pole to hit the water and know what that smells like and tastes like, and the
like
whole
those
thing.
are the revelries that we always talk about from Westworld,
The
like those
tiny,
little tiny minute details that essentially the AI would be unable to create perhaps on its own.
and newer, younger kids are unable to create that on their own. So those experiences will not exist inside the metaverse until we're inside the metaverse
Until
with the
we're giving
feeling.
those revelries to them.
Yeah,
They
it's
need
like
it.
Instagram, it can take all the pictures at once and all the videos and sounds and everything that it wants. But until you go inside the metaverse and it feels you feel it inside the metaverse because you know what it felt like outside the metaverse, it's not real inside the metaverse. So if you're a kid that never fished, it won't ever be something that exists really in there until somebody who actually has fished went in.
Okay. This is even more interesting to me now.
Teach a man to fish inside the metaverse.
The the filters on Instagram, don't they mask your revelries? They blend you out, and like obviously they're making you look good in some sense, but you know that those certain filters that you try on that like your nose blends into your face, like
Mhm.
there's no distinction whatsoever. It's almost taking you to look in like a more like two-dimensional way.
Anime.
Anime
Bigger your
like
eyes, no
but
blinking.
not even that. It's like it's bad buffering. It's like the way, almost as if like the metaverse is going to be buffering because it can't handle it. So like we're not going to look like this. We're going to look like
Mhm.
this 2D filtered version of ourselves that we've now become accustomed to looking. I don't know. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, and it even makes sense in a way of if they add all these filters that we're looking at each other, all of our friends and families and everyone, and even our phones now, iPhone has its own portrait mode and everything like that. So if you're looking at everyone and you're getting accustomed to seeing everyone like this, plus if we're meant to live in a world that we don't see each other in person anymore, we're all living under Black Plague rules in our cells, locking ourselves in every night and like ringing ourselves out of the grocery store with our own iPhones, and there's no one inside except behind plexiglass, then and half of our face is covered, like if we're actually living in the new world order, then yeah, it's perfect. They don't want us to have the detail. They don't want you to have a scar. They don't want you to have, and something out of place doesn't fit in the metaverse.
Revelries, really, like unpredictability.
Mistakes.
But
Mistakes.
also, I was thinking the other day how this whole work from home movement with the pandemic, like my neighbors above me, their car has like a 47 on the license plate, and they just moved in a couple months ago, and so like every time I see their car I'm just like, hey universe. But they both work from home, they never leave ever. And I'm just sitting there wondering, like their car hasn't moved because we're always kind of fighting for the best spot, and I always get the best spot and their car never moves. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you guys work from home and you just never leave this apartment at all. When they take their dogs out, it's so short. I always feel so bad. But working from home has got you ready for that metaverse Ready Player One experience where like you sit in your chair and you never leave. Like you're content with having your food delivered, having your groceries delivered, having your concession stuff from Walgreens delivered. Like they have prepped us up to never leave the fucking house again.
To plan it all up and have everything delivered. And then who would be the people allowed to go out? The people that are playing along with those kind of rules. So you're allowed to go out, but then they're heroes. Look at
But
they
it's like
bring
the
you all their
trolls
food.
almost. Like it would be, I feel like they're turning, it's like royalty, you know, back in the day when like you were
Mhm,
fat, you were rich. Like
mhm.
now, if you're rich, you want to get in the metaverse and you're going to be able to afford, you know, the body sleeve that lets you feel all the sensation. So like the rich would be at home, never leaving their house, and it'd be the trolls like you and me doing delivery.
All the deliveries. Because the metaverse is obviously where you'd want to be, especially if there was a nuclear holocaust outside.
Think about like just the bullshit they could make up. Oh, okay. First off, yeah, you're in a nuclear holocaust and you're sitting in your computer, like zonked out. But like,
You can't
think
even
about the
breathe out
things
there.
they could do with like your electricity bill, you know, or your utilities and stuff like that. Like when you start having something like this on all the time, you know, that one episode of Black Mirror where they live in those like mirrored rooms and they have to
Mm-hmm.
go and bike and cycle
Mm-hmm.
every day. Like that's going to be us. I mean, that's essentially kind of what we're doing now, but
And the number one thing they have to do is they have to pay credits just to turn off the commercials. Otherwise, the commercials run 24/7 and it's all porn.
they're getting us prepped for that now too with all the commercials on Instagram
Yeah.
and
And
like
they're
the
fast,
commercials
three
associated with
seconds.
the application. So now you have to buy the application to get rid of the ads. Somebody commented and said robots are going to deliver the foods for sure. Once
Mm-hmm.
that tech is, I think that tech obviously exists, but like once they're ready to offer that to the public. Like think of like Harry Potter and how he has Hedwig, his owl. Like think of you'll have your own robot maybe and it goes and like fetches things for you.
But you would have to your AI would always work for the man unless you jailbroke it. Otherwise, no matter what thing you brought into your house, it would essentially always work for the man. Like, I don't know who posted about somebody with their Tesla car and they didn't make their payments. So
Repo
the
Man.
repo man contacted Tesla and they pulled it out and did all like Tesla just remote did all the stuff, but they were saying in a couple years it'll just drive the car back to Tesla itself, like the
Oh,
second
I'm
your payment's not
sure.
made.
I'm sure her. Like Mr. California has a Tesla and there would be a couple times where like we'd be FaceTiming and he'd be like, I can't talk to you anymore because if my phone's off, I can't get into my car. Like his battery was about to die on his phone. So like one time he had been drinking and he had to like go sit somewhere for 20 minutes while his phone charged, like at the mercy of another individual just to get in his car. That's wild to
And
me.
think about that. And it's not too long until they tell you when you can or can't drive it. So it's not just financial. What about if you make a post that gets bannered on Insta and you're like, I just posted the ex-president and I just got a banner and now I have
And
half
they
my views and then you can't get in your car.
or they turn off your ability to access your money. Okay, I had this like realization and I knew it was going to this place, but it really took me yesterday that they want like all of these countries have been recently saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna start entertaining accepting Bitcoin for X, Y, and Z. And now all the countries are saying they're going to implement their own digital dollars. So one, you post the wrong thing, they can lock you out of your account. But two, they want to take away the private transaction.
Mm-hmm.
No selling weed, no selling cars, no selling clothes on like at the garage sale. They want to tax every single transaction and track every single transaction that exists.
And we won't accept it on big transactions, but we'll accept it fragmentationally the same way they put that little 9/10 of a cent at the end of gas. And no one questions it. Where's that go? Every gallon of gas forever, no matter what, that 9/10 is always there. We never round up, we never round down, always there on every, it doesn't matter if it's diesel, regular, supreme, whatever. So it's just like all those fragmentational cents, the same way they sell you art now Or they keep trying to get you used to the blockchain idea about you're just taking 1 millionth of a movie. You're not stealing the movie. That's how they're going to charge you and tax you in the future because you won't pay attention to cents and nickels and dimes. Everyone will just keep allowing it to happen until their iceberg's chipped away and they have like an octopus in every legion.
Well, it doesn't matter that like the fractional this isn't obviously real fractional banking, but in this conversation, that type of fractional banking, it won't matter because it'll all be digital. It won't matter that it's like a tenth of this or a hundredth of that because like we'll just be using the blockchain for
I've always said like cryptocurrency is dead energy. It's all about like if we talk about Loosh or anything of them riding our energy, cryptocurrency is just an energy. It's a new thing. People are sitting at the water cooler and being like, my team's better than your team. Oh, my Ripple and your XRP and my Bitcoin and your dog to the moon or
it's
whatever.
another way
bullshit.
to divide and
just divide and conquer. And what we're doing at the same time, conspiracy theorists are the ones all pushing these coins at the same time, telling everybody about a one world currency. You know what grinds my gears?
Warning you of the digital currency, warning you of like, it's like, oh, look, the United States is promoting Bitcoin and we're so happy about it. And then a week later, oh, the United States is considering the digital dollar. Like these things are not mutually fucking exclusive. Like the same person who created crypto is connected to the government over like it's so crazy to me how a conspiracy theorist can have so many open parts of their brain and then so many closed off to cognitive dissonance that like
because we're still the same people that our egos are built in our education. So if you have a doctorate degree, you're the most amount indoctrinated. And so we have learned that, oh, look, you have a doctorate degree. I should worship you. And really that lets the whole world know that you've eaten the most amount of the cud. Like you're all the way there, so much so that you're like, hey, this vaccine, healthy for you. It's so good for you because you're just reading your paperwork, doing what you're supposed to do, because that's how they told us smart people go. Whoever regurgitates the information the best is the smartest fucking person. And so they just kept handing out these degrees to us. And so all the same educated people in conspiracies are all the same kids that were the best kids to sit in study halls with. They know how to research things. They know how to educate themselves on things. Same. They know how to sit in their ego on things and be like, I don't want to be proven wrong. I've opened my mouth too much about this. And so all of them do it. I do it where it's just like so much harder for me to tear off this one hat, than everything else because I put so much time in it. But the difference for me, the hardest hat for me to pull off is the same hat that I would go up against anyone and say, I could tear that thing apart harder than you could. I still haven't seen it done as well as I could tear it apart if I wanted. But I'm a contrarian. It's gotta
be a little like Scorpio in us,
breaking my own heart about everything. Don't settle in.
What is it about us that wants to break our own heart all the time? And I know it. And I'm recognizing it now in the moment where I'm just like, oh, Maria, this hurts. This hurts right now. Why do you continue to do this?
I'm hurting right now and I don't even know how to verbalize it.
No, I'm hurting and I know how to verbalize it. I'm just like, why? Sometimes I think I do things just to feel though,
Does it feel like emotional cutting?
Yes. Oh my God, I'm an emotional cutter.
Mm-hmm. That's what you like to do at your age. You like to sit in the bathroom. You like to sit in the bathroom at your age, like 13, but it's backward. Think mirror. Like that Evan Rachel Woods to Westworld it again. She sits in the bathroom and cuts herself. That's like the first movie that it brings this out to the sphere that this is something that kids are doing just because somewhere maybe we've been desensitized to too much stuff, maybe movies and horror shows. It has to be more than our parents. It's something else we were all brought up on, but it desensitized us in such a way that even our generation being tattooed, it's a form of cutting because a lot of people that are all the way tattooed, if they're honest with you about it, they're like, I enjoy the pain of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, you want ink in your scar. That's it. It's the same as the kids that are cutting themselves. They just want a visual representation of that scar. So somewhere you're doing that, but it's not on your flesh. You're just like, I'm going to tear parts of my heart out.
My psyche, my heart, my soul, my ethereal body. I don't know. I think you and I talk a lot about reciprocation and how we never feel like family, friends, loved ones, whoever you want to like make this applicable to, they're like nobody's ever doing it like you and me, like on our level. And I get a lot of feedback where people that agree with that type of sentiment. But today, okay, so I'll just tell the story. If you listen to me, you either know who Mr. California is or you don't at this point. But fell in love so quickly, so briefly from like October until January. And I've never broken up with somebody and like stayed friends with them. And like Chaney has been my like emotional support animal. Like, I don't mean to call you an animal, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're there in the trenches with me about like we're evaluating every message, every text. And I was playing on Bumble the other day, even though I said I'm not doing that anymore. I just do it as a joke. And I'm swiping. And who is it? It's Mr. California's face. And I like my heart stopped for a second.
Your lungs collapsed.
Yes, my literally collapsed. I was like, he's here? He's on here? No, it was just his friend. His friend that he went out to dinner with when he was in Nashville. And like that picture, that one I sent you is of them in Nashville in October. And I sent it to you guys and I was just like, oh my God, look at this. And then I sat on it for a couple days and then I sent it to him. And I shouldn't have. And I emotionally cut myself right down the wrist. And we interacted a little bit and he told me he'd call me. He never called me. That's fine. I'm just observing. But today, finally, we're talking a little bit and he's taking this huge test, not tomorrow, but the next day, that's going to like change his life. And I'm encouraging and talking to him about manifestation, like blah, blah, bullshit. And it just came to me that like, Maria, he's never going to care about you. He's just never. He does not care about you. And like, he does on some level care about me, but like, it's never going to be the way I want it to be. And I know that. And I keep going back and like cutting myself over and over and over again.
What about his attention feels so good? Like the drug? Or is it any attention or is it him specifically? There's chemistry wise, whatever happened is the fix you're looking for. So it's not even just, it's like whatever happened is never going to happen again.
Do you know what we were talking about the other day? How I can like love myself to the umpteenth degree and also hate myself at the very same time. And so sometimes I think with men, it's like, how could you not love me? Like, how could you, like, I'm great. I'm wonderful. I'm this, I'm that. Like, I think I'm so all of these things. Like, how could somebody like push that in my face and be like, no, we don't want that. So I think sometimes I get denied and then I want to prove to you like a child, like a people pleasing child that I was. Like, let me prove to you how great I am so that you'll love me.
Or you're going to miss me when I'm gone.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just.
But I do like the idea if you weren't friends before you started fucking, then you're not going to be friends afterward. So like searching for that idea, sometimes people want to stay friends with people who never were friends to begin with. Like even if you were together for 2 years, but you met and you weren't friends ever. You just met on a date or you know, whatever. If you were friends beforehand, there's something in the foundation that might be worth working on that you might go back to after the sexual relationship is over. But if you were just fucking, then it's not going to happen. And so many times I watch people that they're like, oh, I really want to stay friends with them. You were never friends. Like,
why didn't you have this conversation with me already? Because I've been like thinking of you, thinking She's so great at being friends with people. Maybe
Because
I could do
usually I'm
that.
friends with them beforehand.
It all makes sense
Yeah,
now.
usually I'm friends beforehand because I never was a dater ever in my life. I never went on dates. I was just like hanging out in a group of people, and then someone was like, "Can I do your makeup?" And I was like, "Oh shit."
Somebody wants to know, do you have any tattoos over in the chat?
You? Me?
Yeah,
I
you.
have tattoos. Yeah.
How many?
I don't know.
Oh,
More than
really?
20. Yeah,
Okay.
I stopped counting. It was like sexual partners.
How old were you when you got your first one?
18.
18. What was the first tattoo?
I'm a Florida girl, and so there's a list of what you're allowed to get as a Florida girl for your first tattoo. So I have a dolphin.
How sweet.
It looks a little, my mom always like, that dolphin looks like a shark. She always thought it looked mean, but it's just kind
Shark?
of, yeah, it's kind of tribally looking.
Shark.
Shark. It's about a shark my size.
We were supposed to get tattoos together when you were in town, but it didn't happen, unfortunately.
It still should. I've been looking
For
up different
sure.
tattoos, but we shouldn't walk into a tattoo parlor and get them on whim while we've been doing shots of tequila. We should like plan it.
Touche, my friend. No, we definitely should plan it. I think we should do it when I come down there.
Yeah, I feel like my skin, it wouldn't matter at all. But your skin, you don't want that on you.
Right.
Like I have enough tattoos to say, oh my God, I have some awful tattoos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How, like, Mr. California kept getting these like ladies on his leg. And I'm I'm a non-judgmental person. Like, you guys do you, but tattoos are still like so new to me in the sense of like being that open. Like, don't get me wrong, I have one behind my ear, but sometimes I look and I'm just like, why do you want to cover that whole space? But then at the end of the day, it's none of my damn business.
I had a friend that when I got tattoos, she would always like kind of mourn the piece of skin that used to be under the spot where my tattoo was. Like, I can't believe I'm never going to see that piece of skin again. Like, even if it was just like on my forearm, or like she'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. You're going to have that there forever. Like, the whole time I know you, that part's gone. And I would be like, geez.
It's not gone forever. You can remove it.
Well, think of the spells
I
though
have
that,
had a tattoo removed.
yeah, yours is pretty goodly removed. Well, goodly,
Goodly.
pretty.
It's some pretty damn goodly removed.
that there is a goodly removed tattoo.
Let me tell you that. By damn.
Yeah, it seems decently removed. It doesn't seem like you have, I've seen bad ones that they always have to get tattooed over again.
This is the first time I'll like expose it to the sun. Like, I'm finally done with it. So we'll see how that goes.
That's all it looks like, actually. It looks like you have a little sun damage there.
Mhm. Don't get a man's name tattooed on you guys.
Noted.
Especially one that you haven't met and becomes your stalker. But
That's the craziest story.
it's the fucking craziest story. Actually, you know what I was thinking? We're not going to do it tonight, but I haven't talked to you about this yet. That maybe we would do a podcast sometime soon where I retold that story kind of in its entirety, not associated with the girl in episode 33.
There is some things though about episode 33 and that whole tale that I don't think are a bad thing to come up again on a podcast for people to listen to.
I totally agree. And I don't want to discredit anything that she says because that was an entire experience that she had.
Mhm.
And it may be directly correlated to John Mayer. It might be indirectly correlated to John Mayer. It might have no correlation whatsoever. I don't think it has no correlation. But I guess maybe I should do like a
You know, if you
intro to
took the
that
name John
podcast.
Mayer off that whole story, it's so close to what's happening to so many people online every day. maybe not to the extent of full flights and full things, but people are for sure looshing other human beings on the internet with posts and songs and things directly to them, but that are also to more than just them. People are
Well,
playing these kind of energy games. It's direct loosh
energy
in a way.
games, internet games, and let's just say that that whole subtweeting, I use the term subtweet, and I think that applies to both tweeting and like any social media post in general at this point. I think the word transcends, but like that subtweeting is real when you're offering certain posts to certain groups of people. Remember, I think it was Ron Watkins in the first podcast he did with me, maybe, where he said that like every tweet that I make is not intended for the same group of people.
I agree with that. Sometimes I do tweets that are direct inside jokes to specific people, or sometimes they seem like really broad things, but it was something I was just talking about in a chat room with somebody else, but the hashtags might be very specific, or it might have been a conversation that you and I had yesterday, and so something in there, if you're looking at it, you're like ha ha ha, like
Oh,
little
like that
inside jokes.
monotony tweet I did yesterday. That was essentially our conversation from yesterday.
Yeah, like those little like haha, like you'll hashtag it. So there's ways that the 33 are also just inside jokes between you and your friends. But there's ways to use that same energy that it's like the haha or I like it, or even ways that people might mean it good, like where you are listening to a song that you're directly thinking about a person and you hashtag it so they see it, but then 10 other people think it's for them.
Going along with what you said though, that like the first part of episode 33 like deserves to be heard in some way. I think it's interesting what online dating and just like the online connections that you make in general, how like I can connect with somebody, I can match with somebody on an application, and like they expect to go out with you immediately or to like come over immediately. Like there's this whole like we've let our guard down a little bit because it's just so easy. Does that make sense? And like the girl or Alice in 33, she like everything connects so easily that like your internal mechanism about like I don't know this person, I shouldn't go over to their house, like I shouldn't fly across the country to meet them because I literally don't know them whatsoever. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, because the intimacy level of like, but I've cried with them already, or I know what their mom does already, or I've heard them talk to their dog, or we've fallen asleep together on the phone, or these little tiny intimate things that are in a weird way hitting our 12, 13, 14-year-old selves, of that level
Ooh,
of like comfort of talking to somebody on the phone.
that
And so
nostalgia again.
yeah, and so it lets us into a place that's very vulnerable for our adult worlds when somebody is aware they're doing that,
Mhm.
because they're messing with 14-year-old little girl us, and they're like trying to manipulate a situation for whatever they see fit, even if it's just like a loosh, like I need you to love me.
That is so interesting, and I just had a thought that I've kind of lost.
Slumber
Oh,
party.
the intimacy that you're talking about, I think the online relationship forces intimacy so quickly, especially in situations perhaps in which like you don't necessarily like video all the time, but like when I think when the picture and the video is taken out of it and it's just these conversations, these audio not note conversations, these phone conversations where like you're taking a 6 month, like what you would do in person in 6 months getting to know
Mm-hmm.
somebody, you're pushing that into like a month's period of time, less than a month's period of time. Like me and Mr. fucking California were FaceTiming like 7 hours a day, 5 days in a row. Like I knew more about him in that week's time than I could have learned about somebody else in a year. I
That's
just think that's
where
an interesting part of online dating.
straight people are getting a lesbian idea of a relationship. Then if like two gay men, they're like, the idea of what kind of is happening with a lot of these Bumble and Twister and Twinder Tinder, whatever they're fucking called.
Twister Twinder.
Twister should be the name of one.
Old Twister.
That seems like next level if you're on Twister. um But whatever these kind of things are, it almost seems like everybody's leaning toward a masculine way of dating, which is we meet, we have sex. That's what two gay men would do. We wouldn't even know each other's name. We could go to a bathhouse and fuck each other. Whereas if you take two women on the other end, there's the whole joke of two lesbians need it, like, oh, they're going to U-Haul, because it's two women who are chatting so much in that, like, let's say they stay together for the weekend or a week, they end up like a one night stand, and then they hook up, and now they made breakfast, and they're doing the whole next day together, and now the weekend's over, and now it's Wednesday. Those two girls have talked about fucking everything in the same way that a straight couple only can experience when there's that much distance between them. Because otherwise, the man's gonna man, and he's like, oh, this is all too much foreplay. I just want to stick it in. But
He
it
has to like
forces
connect with like the divine feminine almost in a way.
And be vulnerable. He has to share some of it too if he keeps wanting it. And then it also, even in the phone sex, even in that kind of intimacy level, there's not a gratification of him getting to finish and touch you. There's still he has to hear you. He has to wait and see what you're going to think. So now pleasing you is important, telling you the right thing that is going to, like, it's in a way that primally men kind of lose sometimes if they're not in a connected guy.
And it's like words of affirmation. It's like forcing a man to like actually use his words, which I feel like they have not done for some time.
And then I imagine it's in a way like it's intoxicating, because women, if they're on the phone, if you have a sibling or a sister or a mom, and you're like, oh, I talk to my mom like an hour a day, like somebody out there, you have somebody in your life that you do this as a female. Men don't do that. You'll ask a dude and they'll be like, you'll have to remind a guy, have you called your mom this month? Like, it's like those kind of little ways. So if a guy opens up this kind of intimacy level with you on the phone and he's having this, it's probably the first time he ever experienced it, that it must be a high for him.
Let's bring it right back to what we were talking about earlier today. That I don't remember the exact conversation that we were having, but you were saying that like dudes don't need compliments. Like you don't need to tell a dude that like he looks hot or his muscles are big or how he looks in that outfit. Like you and Alex are both just like, fuck dudes. Dudes don't need any more fucking compliments. And then I was telling you that I had watched a TikTok and I had read a bunch of like comments to it where this man said that like this woman had given him a compliment and that he never forgot it. That like it was like that men basically never get certain types of compliments, and they were all commenting like, wow, this meant more to me than anything else in the world. Wow, this comment, this, wow, like, oh my God, I'll never forget it when a woman compliments me. And like you and I were talking about that.
And I said, I'm okay. But with the way I compliment men, even if I like, when I was picturing flirting with them, I would be like, I would comment on their style, or I would comment on their taste in music or something, their haircut, something of that nature, unless they were my boyfriend. And then I might be like, you're so cute today. I like you in blue, or whatever bullshit that even felt corny. Like like me thinking of a boy. You look so cute today. I love you in blue. Even my hypothetical boy wore blue because it was so like,
because it's so gender.
It's a boy.
It's a boy. Oh, I would like to know if any men are listening. Does that resonate?
But you also said that you were telling me a compliment that you gave Morgan Stanley, and I was like, which maybe is my masculine. How if somebody tells me you look so pretty today, it makes me like it makes my whole body feel a way like queer. But you gave the compliment to this dude that he didn't really even notice, that I'm like, that's a compliment. Like you
see exactly what you're saying. I had watched those videos. And so when I was speaking, we weren't speaking, we were texting. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe he's one of those dudes that's never received a compliment before. Like I'm not having this, like I guess I am having this intentional of a discussion inside, but it's going a lot faster. And I just thought like, I'm going to give him a nice compliment because maybe he's one of those dudes that's never gotten a compliment.
But also Morgan Stanley, he gets compliments all the time.
Yeah, fuck
He
that
gets
dude.
compliments all the time.
Fuck that
Every
dude.
office he walks in, all the girls, like he is all full of compliments. His mom and all her friends, compliments, compliments, compliments.
Fuck that dude. Oh, I said, you continue to surprise me with your complexity. Oh my.
You know what? One thing that would grind my gears about, but I don't know how detailed I could get about him. But one part I know would not be complimented on Morgan Stanley.
What's that?
His knowledge of a ratchet strap.
This is a good story. I should tell this story. Okay, you guys. So Morgan Stanley and I have become like the best of friends. Oh, this involves when I got a little crazy over the weekend. Remember? Oh my God, I got to tell this whole story. It's going to take a second. I'm going to be
Tell the
quick.
whole story, and then you don't even have to be real quick. And I'm going to grab a cigar.
Oh, please do. Okay. So if you've listened to me for a little while, there's this man named Morgan Stanley. He's so great and wonderful that on paper we would work out, but he just sucks. Anyways, we've become very good friends and we literally talk all day long, incessantly, like multiple text messages per hour. And he's becoming more and more open to this type of shit. So I've just been observing. I told you guys that in a couple older podcasts. I'm just going to observe. I'm going to see what happens. The Eagles concert's going to come up in April and we're just going to go from there. That's my benchmark. That's when I'll be done. Well, that came and went, and let me tell you why. So old Mo asks me to go hiking, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. And this was earlier in the week, and then Friday comes along, or maybe it's Thursday, I can't remember. And I said, "Hey, are we still going hiking on Saturday?" And he said no. He said he needed to, what did he say? He needed to clean his house and do some like landscaping. And then what was that one set of language he used? He gets paralysis by analysis. He's like, maybe we'll go hiking later in the day. But that's even if I get anything done, because sometimes I just sit there in paralysis of the analysis and get nothing done. Okay, dude, whatever. Fuck you. This isn't going to work. Well, it's Friday night and we're texting, and I think I gave him another fucking compliment around this time. I don't remember now. There was something that like predicated it. And then he sent me this video of this artist that we both like, who went to this concert in December, and I ran into him and his whole dad. He sends me a video of this girl playing at this bar in Nashville called Santa's. We should go there sometime. And I just think to myself, oh, motherfucker, this is why we're not going hiking tomorrow, because you're out at this bitch's concert and you've told me already that you want to fuck her, but you're not going to fuck her because she's vaccinated. And oh, Chaney, it just ran all over me. And I was so mad. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were at a concert. I'm going to stop texting you. And then I said, this dude also told me, y'all, I forgot to update you on this, that he has been on a sex fast since December. So I was being a bitch and I go, maybe you'll break your fast tonight with your dream girl. And then I immediately go text Alex and Chaney and I'm just like, can you believe it? And everybody's like, fuck Morgan Stanley. Fuck this bitch. Don't read any more of his text messages. So what do? I silence them and I just let it flow. And I don't read any that night and I don't read any the next day. And I just decided, okay, like that's it. We're done. I didn't need to wait until April to the Eagles concert. We're just done. And then eventually me and Alex and Chaney are dissecting everything again the next day. And I'm scrolling on the IG and the girl, the singer, post his video on Instagram and says, thanks Morgan Stanley for sending this video to me. I had a great time a couple weeks ago at Santa's Pub when this happened. And in that moment, I realized that he was not at the concert that night. And I looked at all my text messages, and if I had just stopped being a dramatic drama queen and read them and not ignored him, his first text message was like, "Oh no, I just wanted to share this video with you. I thought you'd like it." But then I sent him this long audio message saying, like, "I'm not this girl. I don't want to be crazy. I made this whole scenario up in my head over the last 24 hours, and that's why I haven't responded to you. And I like you, and you don't like me, and that's okay. We're going to let it go." Why did I originally tell this story? What was your comment about him?
Because he then, after all of this, you
Right.
ended up buying a couch.
So after all of this, the next day on Sunday, I ended up buying a couch from an influencer in Nashville, and my trailer is in Knoxville. And so I tried to go rent 2 trailers, and it didn't happen on Sunday. And this girl was like, "I got to get rid of this couch tomorrow." So what did I do? I've missed part of my old story. I left Morgan Stanley a 4-minute, 7-second audio message inadvertently. Didn't mean for it to be that long. I said all of this stuff, and all he said back to me was, "I just thought we were becoming good friends." And that was basically it. So I was just like, "Hey, we can't talk anymore." What did I do the next day? Asked him to help move a couch for me. So on Monday, I go, we meet.
You were like, "Hey, pal. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man." That's what he always says
Hey,
to me.
friend.
Hey, man.
Hey, friend.
We meet at this bitch's house to get the couch. And he told me, he was like, "Make sure you bring your ratchet straps." And I was like, "Dude, they're in my car all the time. Like, I own a trailer. Don't worry about it." But I'll be honest with you, while I do own a trailer, and
I'm from Tennessee. Don't worry about it.
I know how to make a ratchet strap work if I have to. I normally just like hand it to the men and they take care of it. And so we get the couch into his truck, and I hand him the ratchet strap. And this motherfucker has no idea what he's doing. I had to go get the dad inside to help us. And so finally I said to Chaney, "There ain't no way that Joe could be that Morgan
Edit
Stanley."
that.
I can't edit that. We're live.
Later.
There ain't no way that Mo could be my daddy, because he doesn't even know how to use a ratchet strap.
Yeah. That seems like an easy thing, though, as far as manly go. You made it all the way through.
I made it all the way through. Done fucked it up.
That's not his real name. I know. And it's like,
It's
oh,
true.
now we just have to drink and get that taste out of our mouth.
Anyways, Mo sucks. Fuck you, Mo.
Done with that. On to the next. But you do have guys that are friends, or no?
You know, I think I have guys that are friends, and it turns one way or the other. I think I'm always being friends with people, and then I don't know that I have a guy friend that doesn't want to fuck me.
Or that you've fucked already in the past?
No, I haven't had that much sex, Chaney. I wish I have. But like I haven't fucked I don't have any friends that I've fucked really at all. So like any guy friend that I have now is someone I haven't had sex with. But I don't have any that I think I could just call my strictly platonic friend.
Without any strings attached and just be like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Would you even want that though? See, that's where it gets tricky, because if
For
everything's
sure.
there, that it's the friendship, you're like, check, 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 all the things that make a friendship. And then you're like, I'd also have sex with this person. How long until you catch feelings?
Right. I think it would be nice to just have some like completely platonic male friends. I was a dude's girl in college and high school. I've never gotten along well with women. Not that it's been bad, it just like wasn't a preference. I mean, look, my like two new best friends are you and Alex, who exude like male energy and not
And straight
necessarily
women are
feminine.
weirdly competitive toward each other.
Right.
It's a weird thing I notice all the time between all straight ladies. They're all the same way men walk in a room and they like, if you ever watch a man, like, and another man walks in that he hasn't met, he'll figure out a reason to touch the guy's shoulder. Like they shake hands, but then they also have to touch the shoulder and they
Or they like
squeeze it.
push on them kind of.
They need to know what they're dealing with musculature wise. Like, does this guy work out? They might even do it without even thinking about it.
We're
Girls,
always like sizing each other up though.
that women do that to each other in a different way, but it's this like,
But almost like women like, okay, let's pretend I had a regular boyfriend that like I went out with all the time and we dated normally. At the end of the day, he would be happy probably if I had leggings and like a t-shirt on and we went out. But I'm gonna get dressed up, A, for myself, but also for like the women in the room. Like it's we're like ruffling our feathers in that way. But the men in the same way, with the size of your watch and the size of your vehicle and the size of your truck and that type of thing.
yeah, I just think even women, when they're like women, just if I were a fly on the wall, they aren't naturally nice to each other from the get.
Never.
It's
Never.
weird in a way that lesbians, certain types, because not all lesbians, but like my type of lesbian and Alex's type of lesbian, there isn't that energy in the room amongst us at all. And so when girls give me that kind of energy ever, it is so off-putting to me. I always call it catty energy. Like there's just something catty about it. Like it's an air that's in the room without anything being said. When girls give me that, it hurts my feelings in a different way. Like it makes me clutch my pearls. Like what?
See, I used to let it hurt my feelings in such a way. And I was always very like you can't hurt my feelings out loud. Like that Scorpio energy was there. But on the inside, like I was so hurt,
So sensitive.
so sensitive. But nowadays, like give me that loosh. Fucking give me all your loosh. And like I think we were eventually gonna like swing this conversation back around this way that like we talk about loosh so abstractly sometimes and like the architects and the archons and blah 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 bullshit. But I can take in and siphon and ingest just as much loosh as anyone else. And we do all the time.
That's what you want sometimes, and the feeling, like
Think
making
about like a
yourself feel.
toxic bitch. Like a toxic bitch. Alex likes to call me toxic from time to time. But like that type of individual is looshing all the time.
It's because you called her a toxic vampire daddy.
No, she likes to call my behavior. She'd be like, "Oh, that's toxic."
But she's mirroring the word that you said to her that she's like, did you call me a toxic vampire daddy? And then she was like, it made her do so much shadow work that now she is like, since you call me a toxic bitch, I just want to point out your behavior.
She's just calling me the same thing, basically.
Because we had this whole conversation that if we all turned into vampires, that you're a maker sometimes. And
Right.
so we were explaining True Blood to Alex, who's never seen True Blood. And without seeing it, she was like, I would make like 10 girls in the first hour I was a vampire and make them fight over me. And you said, oh, you're a toxic vampire daddy. That triggered her shadow for the next like 2,000 years of vampire life. She's like, I'll show you toxic. We're probably World War III, and everything going on with the New World Order right now for real is probably a time loop of you telling her that. And then we're in the like perpetual mode that we're going to get to the bottom of it and be like, Alex,
Alex, this was all you?
This is you toxic vampire daddy.
So it was true. Oh
Well,
man. Anybody in the chat got any rants for us? The chat's been a little not too many people
do
going
you
on.
think the feeling like you're like emotional cutting, is it a way you want to lose yourself because it's like the muscle of your heart got so prepared to get bigger and then it couldn't, almost like a workout, like every day you rode the mountain, every day you rode the mountain, and then one day you don't ride the mountain, you go to sleep and get leg cramps. It's
Let
like,
me let me make this analogy. Sometimes I think not that I'm addicted to the drama, but like in the context of like these online relationships, do you ever feel, and maybe it was just me and the stalker, but sometimes everything felt like so life or death. Like today was the day and like you had to like it was all coming to a head today. I don't know. Um so sometimes like that kind of energy was there and I feel like I've missed your original question now. What was it again?
like almost like the emotional cutting. Are you
Oh,
trying to
so
lose
sometimes I
yourself,
feel
like make
like
yourself feel in
because
that
it's
way? Like you want the tizzy, and since you're not going to get it from the love, you'll take the loosh because you just want the feel.
sometimes I think like I miss that like life or death of it. And then I'm just trying to kind of like make myself feel. But honestly, like it comes back to that like caring thing and that like reciprocation thing that I think I'm that little girl a little bit and I'm like looking at my parents being like, why don't you love me more? Like I'm doing everything you want me to do. You tell me to jump, I'll ask you how high. And so I think like with Mr. California, I'm like, dude, like this is it. Like, and in the same with Morgan Stanley, like I feel like I check all the boxes. I feel like I'm this like unicorn person. And like, why does nobody see it? And so I think sometimes I'm like, I love myself, like that love hate conversation we were having,
Mm.
but I also need this like external validation. And sometimes I just want to test him and like poke him and be like, hi, I'm still here. I'm still wonderful. How can you not see this? Like, why don't you care?
I
And
have a
that's like
weird thing.
that realization I had to come today that like he's never going to care.
Are you looking for a 4D, 5D romance with 3D check boxes?
Yeah, I'm looking for a 4D, 5D and I'm only looking at like 3D people.
Yeah, it's like they look away, they're employed away, their like lifestyle choices are away. They went to all the
Oh, like
right,
more
like
like
their
Mo.
steps.
Mo's
Yeah,
got all the 3D
all
check
the
boxes.
steps. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, but part of them in the spiritual realm, you're still having, or even the conspiracy realm or the news realm or reality, you're having to answer all these questions, like kind of pull them forward. It's like still your old programming of, okay, you're this thing. That means the equivalent of this thing on 3D on paper has to be this thing. But now because you're also 4D, 5D, like woke, you need next
Ascending.
level stuff,
Right.
that somebody that fits that 5D thing on in the 3D world might not be that on paper, what you've
Right.
always
It's
been
not going to be
trained.
like the clean cut rich
Yeah.
wife boy that I'm
Yeah.
accustomed to.
Yeah, it might be something totally different or with a trauma that you're not used to, or a look, or a like the normal search on the computer where you'd be like, oh shit, somebody with, a police record, some normal things that might be something that is not your normal thing, but you're like, oh shit, my 3D world now is different.
Somebody asked over here in the chat, what is shadow work? I keep hearing Chaney mention that. How would you define shadow work?
I think shadow work is, everybody always tells you love and light, love and light, love and light. You got to love yourself. You're so beautiful. You're so amazing. You're so
Be
smart. You're all these things.
positive.
Yeah, it's all this. But also, there's an ugly side of you, and a side of you that it might be from your traumas. It might be the stuff that makes you cry when you're alone. It might be the stuff that when somebody just is like, hey, will you do that one thing? It makes you react in this certain way. Um, it's
It's
all
all
these
the
like,
darkness inside of you.
and so when you sit in it sometimes and work on those things that you're aware you're doing that, and it's hard to really go through this, that's shadow work. And then there's also like dark night of the soul, I've heard over the last 2 years. And I just think those happen to you. I don't think you get one of those. I just think that's when you're sitting in the real traumas, like the shit that you didn't remember until like a week ago. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't remember that that even happened to me. And that shouldn't have happened to a little kid. And it's okay. I guess it doesn't bother me. But then you sit on it with your adult head and you're like, wow, that's really horrible. Maybe that shouldn't have happened to anyone. And then you start replaying those kind of things. And then you see the way in your life that one moment could affect every relationship, and how you don't let people love you in a certain way because of that one thing, or a way a parent treated you, or an uncle or a teacher. And yeah.
It's like you are reverse engineering a butterfly effect, or you finally find the origin of a butterfly effect and then you watch it unfold as you like replay all these events in your mind, like, wow, that trauma from my childhood affected me here and 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 in this relationship, and this is why I do this and this is why I react this way. And so I like to make this analogy sometimes, especially like right before your kind of like first awakening. I think your first spiritual awakening, especially, and everything's falling around you and it's so chaotic and you feel like you're drowning and it's so dark. And I like to make the analogy that like we're all standing in the corner of this dark room and like we keep trying to find the light. We keep trying to find the light and get out, but we can't. And eventually, when you do your shadow work and you realize that like you were the answer and the answer was always inside of you, you turn around and you realize that you've just been staring into the abyss. Like you could have turned around and found the light on your own this whole time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's like sometimes you have to stay staring in the abyss for a while. And then once you realize that's the problem, then you see it the way it unfolds in every aspect of your life. And then you have to work on it. It's like the acknowledgement of
When
like,
you know,
yeah,
when you really, really know, like at the end of the day, we can all say we have trauma from our parents when we were little, from people dying, from abuse, relationships, whatever you want to call it. And like I feel like we all can like we all generally make those jokes, but like when you finally see like, okay, I am doing this because my parents did Y. I'm doing X because my parents did Y. Once you see that, like you can't blame them anymore for that. Like they may have done whatever they've done and affected you, but then like that's your shadow work thereafter to like
yeah, the
mask the
acknowledgement
pain
of like,
and the
okay, it's my
trauma.
responsibility now.
Mhm. And to
Like,
just like forgive those people for who they were in those moments.
and
You can
forgive
hold
yourself.
forgive yourself. You can hold that trauma for a lifetime, and like that's almost where I think that like you hold loosh inside of yourself and it like results in a cancer. Like you hold that kind of vibration, that energy inside of you, you're just
Well,
going to
think of
make yourself
every time you
sick.
retell the story, regardless of what the memory is. Whatever energy you decide to stick to it this time on the telling becomes the new story. So if it's the worst thing that ever happened to you and you're going to explain it to me viscerally, not only do you draw up all that loosh, but you've added that emotion to the next telling of the story.
You feel it all over again too,
Yeah.
and it's just worse and worse.
So it's like, I do think we lose ourselves in these ways by not letting go of our trauma and the shit we feel guilty about, not admitting the ways we've traumatized other people because of our reactions of our trauma. And then you can still apologize for that shit now.
And like guilt isn't even like the Catholic guilt that I feel like I've really broken away from, but it just still permeates things. Like you never like not just religion and sex and that type of thing, but like my work ethic and like the way I feel like when I don't know, I just there's this whole mind conditioning that we've gone through.
Like
And
anxiety, how much of your anxiety is from a guilt?
mm-hmm,
Like, or you can't
definitely.
sit on the couch for an hour because you should be doing this. Your time's about, you should be doing like, why isn't your time just valuable to you? Why is there always
Especially
this?
when I like for me, I bill. with my time. And then I'm sitting here being
Oh
like, well, you
my.
could be billing and doing this. Excuse me.
Oh my gosh. I could see how that would be a whole nother
Oh
like
God,
tick, tick,
it's
tick,
so
tick, tick, tick,
toxic.
tick, 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 tick. If you have a number value in your head every day you take off and you're like, I'm missing out on this. Like, mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
I've done that to myself a few times with life after COVID. Like, this is how much money you haven't made. And I'm like, what's the point? What's the point of that? You're just making your life hell.
Mhm.
Losing
Definitely.
yourself. Why are you
Losing
losing
yourself.
yourself?
Why do we do it, Chaney? Why am I an emotional cutter? What an idea. I've never thought of myself that way.
Because you don't have any outward scars.
Mhm. True.
Internal. That's such a Scorpio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Inject yourself with poison. No one knows. You're like sitting there dying.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the taster for everyone at the table.
Yeah. Just
Like
give it all to me.
kings and queens. They just made them taste it and taste it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What else were we going to talk about?
I feel like we were going to rant about so much more, but
I
we
know we were
didn't.
so mad.
We were so mad on the phone together.
I know. I was like, you know what
This is
else
why we
I'm
can't
tired of?
talk ahead of time.
You know, this because I was like, you know what I'm tired of? Empathy. It's exhausting. And you were
I'm
like,
tired of it too.
it's so much. Feeling other people like once I only feel like part of my awakening. I think this is part of the awakening too. You realize part of the energy that you're carrying isn't yours.
Mhm.
You realize that like when you talk to your mom and get off the phone, that leaves you with a feeling. Or when you talk to your best friend and get off the phone, that leaves you with a feeling. And you start realizing like some of the relationships give you energy back and some of them don't. And some of them take too much from you and leave you depleted sometimes where you're like, they give you a migraine. Or some people, you get off the phone, you're like, I feel like I could climb the Empire State Building. Like I'm shot out of a cannon. I forgot the point of this whole rant and
I
tirade.
think
Oh,
some of it,
empathy.
empathy. I think there is a level though that like we all discover these levels of empathy, and then I think we feel everything, and
Mhm.
and that in and of itself is a louche experience. So I think a certain level you reach maybe where it's almost like a combination of disassociation and louche and empathy, but also knowing when to like walk away. Like you and I both know when we see stupid articles about, a dad saying goodbye to his children in the Ukraine. That's not real. That's meant to invoke empathy and louche individuals. So like certain things like that, I just categorize now where like I've disassociated where I don't care. Like if you were to engage me on it, then I could empathize. But like I'm gonna look at my empathy as a currency the same way that I look at louche and attention as currency as well. Like I just can't feel for everything that I
Everything.
encounter.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, don't send me the dodo.
Oh God, I watch that shit and cry all the time.
Don't send me the dodo. I don't wanna.
I louche myself in that way. Or
I don't want to. I will
or
change the channel if I hear like in the arms of the angel. Like I'll shut my eyes and act like a horror movie commercial's on.
oh,
Like
I
I'm
do
like,
that too.
change
I
it,
shut
change
my
it.
eyes or I put mute on sometimes.
I'm like, I can't. I don't want to see a shaking dog. Like, I don't want to see it.
I should be like, what were you doing when you like? How did you make this dog shake while you were videotaping him? I don't know.
Banging on the kennel. Like, I don't know. I have too many problems with I can't with all the looshing. The Ukraine feels like, oh, here we go. Here we go again. And then we are going to do the whole dance around again around the virus. We're totally dosey doing. We're ring around the rosy and
I
not
swear I
posies.
saw Deltacron today, where they're
Mm-hmm.
saying that Delta and Omicron joined forces,
Join forces.
went on
But
a date and got weird together, and now we have Deltacron.
we just have to until it's blue beam. Like we're so ridiculous at this
I
point.
keep looking. I'm like, where them aliens at? Like, can y'all just show up so we can like move forward? Because I just feel like we're on pause.
If they're like Russia shooting a nuclear missile right now at the United States, We don't care. Like I'm unleashable at this point. I will go stand outside with my sunglasses on a Nicki Minaj flag and be like, bring it. That's the part. That's the psyop on psyops is when the nuclear bomb happens and everybody else is safe inside their house under their desks.
with
I'm
their
the idiot
fucking
outside with
masks on.
radiation poisoning.
I don't want to be that person because I'm not asking anyone to like toot my own horn or to toot my horn, excuse me. But I do want to say that like you and I and Alex, like we talked this whole narrative through and it's happening like just the way I kind of thought it would.
Because the New World Order plan has been before, like, regardless, however you feel about Donald Trump, he was just a hiccup in the New World Order. Like, even if everything
He's
about
just a character.
yeah, let's say, but 100% of Q is real. Let's say 100% of that, still just a hiccup in a 1,000-year plan because we had to have all these phones to get to this place. Like they couldn't control us with emergency broadcasts and coronavirus if everyone doesn't have a TV in their hand. So it's like we had to get here, and until we're at Bluebeam, it's not in game.
But like for the comments that you and I were making where we were talking about like there are going to be people on our side of the aisle that are like, come on in, Putin. You're part of the same team as us. Come on into America. Like you can occupy us. And I just watched like the normal people now conflict themselves out. I'm not using this in the right term, but I think it works to like the blue side and the Ukrainian side and the Russian side.
Blue and red,
Just
the same way.
crazy.
What color was the Russian
Crazy.
flag used to be? Red. What color is the Ukrainian flag? Blue. So then you have the same boxing colors that you always had, the same political parties you always have. And if I have a baby, those are the same colors I give them at birth to tell you their sex. Like everything's always split up. Everybody always says the Masonic black and white, but I'm like, but we're always looking at red and blue. Like those are really the two colors of whatever faux polarity they're making.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it anymore because it's just anything is possible. The layers of the psyop are so demented and frayed and like taped together and stapled together that like none of it makes sense.
How few people, because we always talk about how big the shadow government could be. How few people could the shadow government be and pull this off? From everything we see, from the Queen to the CGI to the actors to the Bidens to the White Houses
like
to
who
the
are
Trump.
in charge? How many are in charge? And like they have people they can employ underneath them.
Yeah, like don't you think it could be a really
I
small
think
amount of people?
the very tippy top is maybe like a max of like 15.
And then everything else is compartmentalized.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, just like think these are like if you're thinking like a TV show or a movie set, you're gonna have your main writers, and I mean the people in charge might not even be the writers, the producers.
No, the script could have been written 1,000 years ago.
So I mean, you've got the producers who employ the writers with the architects, with the set production, with costume production, with makeup, with audio visual. I mean, it's all the makings of a movie on a global scale at all. Like think about the infrastructure that must exist for that.
Well, Hollywood shut down and we're all like, Hollywood shut down because no one cares about movies anymore. But what about if they're all busy making this
Think
World War
about
III?
Hollywood is probably 5%, 1% of what it takes to like put on the Truman Show on a global scale. Cause like that's just a little revelation of the method over there.
But I think what goes on like in the Hollywood basement, like we created space in the Hollywood basement, Jared Leto's house, like the CIA idea. Don't you think they could make all of Ukraine in one basement in Hollywood?
Oh, most definitely.
Like, so even though it just seems like Hollywood's just this thing, but just a movie studio, Paramount, we could just sell the whole entire Ukrainian Russian crisis just in one backlot we don't allow anyone in, and have every actor in there.
For that matter, you know?
Yeah, right in the Rockies, Area 52.
I mean, we know that there are major movie sets in Los Angeles. We know that there are now major movie sets in Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of like that new up and coming city. Think of like that could be anywhere. It could be in the hills of Montana. There could be movie sets on every night. We always talk about national parks. What are they hiding from us? Who the
Or
fuck
how much,
knows what's going on back
like,
there?
there's only 30 million people in all of Australia. And they're like, what's the rest of Australia?
Right.
Is it really America?
Like there's more kangaroos in Australia. I think it's like maybe a 3-to-1 ratio of citizens of Uruguay. So if you were to take all the kangaroos to Uruguay, like there would be 3 times as more kangaroos than people. It's a really random statistic
I
that I
like it.
have.
I like that random fact of the day. There's 3 to 1 humans to or
It might be
kangaroos to
more. Hold on, I
Uruguayans.
gotta look this up. I'm gonna still be talking to you.
It's like a new world order of kangaroos. But kangaroos are kind of scary. I feel like that is on the new timeline that didn't exist when I was a kid. When I was a kid, kangaroos were like big bunnies, and now they're like little Sylvester Stallones.
Let me tell you, I was just really fucking off with my statistic. I gotta figure these lights out. There are 48 million kangaroos in Australia.
That's like 15 million more
There
kangaroos than people.
are 3.5 million people in Uruguay.
Oh
So
my,
3.5 million to 45 million.
there's more kangaroos in Australia than Australians, and there's more kangaroos in Australia than there are New Yorkers.
Hold on. Population 26 million. Even smaller than you thought.
That's always what I tell people when they're like, hey, America, Australia, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel like there's more people in Florida than Australia. No offense.
How many
Like,
people are in Florida?
I would guess like we're the third biggest populated state in the country. I would guess 26 million. What are the facts? Are we bigger?
22 million in 2019.
And so we know we have at least more million now because everyone in the world moved to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
So
feel
yeah,
like
you have the
politically,
same number of inhabitants as Australia.
yeah. And this is the week 2 years ago that we flattened the curve.
Mm-hmm.
Is that weird to think about? 2 years to this
I don't
week.
feel like 2 years have passed. I feel like we're still sitting in March 2020.
It does. It feels like a time warp.
Mm-hmm.
Like an Olympics happened.
Mm-hmm.
Some boats happened around the country. An election happened. We've had Super Bowls.
Pandemic happened.
Pandemic. We're in a world war. We've been out of wars. We were friends with Kim Jong Un back in. Like new characters have become frenemies and friends. And what a bizarro time to be alive.
Alex says, according to Google, a total of 100 billion people have lived on Earth, minus the rough 8 billion people that are currently alive, meaning that 92 billion people have died. I don't think that's real. Like, I'm not doubting her research
Total
skills.
since the beginning of time. 92 billion people have died since the beginning of time. That's the other thing.
Look
Is
at
people,
all those fossil fuels.
it's the safest time to be alive ever in the human history
Why do you say that?
because a tiger's not trying to jump at you in the woods. You don't have poisonous darts coming. You can feed your family. People aren't dying because you threw the baby out with the bathwater. Like,
I think I was telling you this the other day. I'm going on this trip to Guatemala in May, and every time I tell somebody new about it, their first thought isn't like, "Oh, that's incredible. Why are you going? What are you passionate about there?" They're always like, "Are you sure you know what you're doing? Are you sure? Are you going by yourself? Oh my god, you're going by yourself?" And I want to be like, "Baltimore's more fucking dangerous than Guatemala is at this point." Like, we're just so scared of what we don't know.
And now you should look up how many people are in Guatemala and then compare it to some major city around our country, because it's probably similar, where you'd be like, do you know there's this many people in Chicago and this many people in Guatemala, and there's 200% times the murder daily?
Right,
Don't
in
worry about me.
Chicago. Right. Don't fucking worry about me, baby.
Or no one's coming to help you nightly to check on you and tuck you in and make sure your
Right.
alarm's set. Don't worry about me today. Like, don't worry about me if I'm in Guatemala, if you're not worried about how I'm getting from my car to my door.
There's only 17 million people in Guatemala. That seems high. I'm going to be honest.
There's probably the same amount of people in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, then it'd be exactly the same. We should just stop sitting here Googling populations. I'm sure nobody wants to fucking hear this. Oh, shit. Tennessee's 7 million.
Oh my God.
Like
Tennessee's
a
so
fucking
small.
third.
We don't even ever need to listen to a word they have to say again.
Dude, I lived in Memphis. I'm fine, okay?
One kind of funny thing for your audience, that when I came and hung out at your house, and how when Alex and I first got there, we were like, Peyton, come on now. Peyton, come on now. So
Hold on, we first got to say that I say that to him all the time. I'll be like, come on now. Come on now, P, let's go. But I don't, it doesn't mean like a bad thing. It's just like when we're walking and I'll be like, come on now, P, let's go. But
and we just turned it up because we're Southern.
on its head. And they were saying it to him over and over and over again. And I was in court and he thought that like they were upset with him.
It was so, when it dawned on me, like, oh my God, you're a handsome boy. You're a good boy. And he was like wagging his tail and he was like, oh, good grief. I'm so relieved.
I thought you were upset with me this whole time.
Peyton, come on now. But it was just us repeating you Southern. Peyton, come on now.
Come on now, P. But I don't really talk like that. That's just me trying to be funny.
Well, and we turn it up. Like once it's like, oh, did you hear my Maria talked a little country? Now we got to turn it up extra.
Country.
Come on now. Let's boot scoop, Peyton.
If I was drunk, I would be real country.
Me too. I almost am curious to, like, if you're around your mother, do you get even a little more twangy?
No. My mother is the most anti-Southern person ever. She likes to talk really, like she says stupid shit like water or daughter. Like, it's so dumb.
She wants to be like, what is that, Northern Atlantic? Where it's like, where they...
She tries to talk very waspy.
Daughter and water.
Daughter and water.
You're like, all right, Madonna.
Like my brother and I would just look at her and be like, he'd be like, my daughter, will you please go get me some water? So like, be bitches.
If I'm hanging out with my sister and mom, we will definitely get our twang on.
I wish I could tell my mom's name because it's...
I saw your eyes like I was going to say it and I didn't. And I was like, I'm not gonna. But I felt the
people
energy.
Be able to find me in like a hot second. It's such a weird name.
I felt like a direct sentence in my head before I even looked up. And then your eyes were big and I was like, I wasn't going to say it. In my head, I said it back.
Oh my God. When the day comes, like when I was going to have my Maria Fest, she was like, do I get to go? Like, do I get to meet people? Like, she's automatically making the whole thing about her. Just like, okay.
She can have glasses and a hat.
This is gonna go. No, she wants to be like center stage. Maria's mother here to like.
Could she be Margarita 777?
Yeah.
My Margarita 777.
Oh man.
She would probably love it if you told her that.
Yeah.
And that you're gonna make her merch.
Oh God. She'd be like, when do I get my cut of this? Are you gonna take me on a trip? Like my best friend's mom and my mom were best friends growing up, and they have this like terrible like gimme mentality. Like, oh, our daughters make money now. Like, where are you gonna take us on a trip? What are you gonna do with us? What, like, it's really toxic, but yeah. That's where we would be going with that.
Already, it wouldn't be big enough. Nothing's a surprise.
Like, mom, your merch made $10. We're going to McDonald's.
How's my merch doing?
I killed it. Oh, anyways, that took a dark turn. I'm gonna let you go though, because I
All
gotta
right.
get to bed.
Sounds like a
Unfortunately, I got
plan.
court in the morning.
Well, hopefully
I
it
gotta
goes
get
like
to put my
today.
little suit on and act like a little, penguin in court tomorrow.
A witch.
Aren't
Doesn't
we
have to
all?
be a penguin. It could be a witch. We won't get into the conspiracy of penguins today.
We should though. And
Such a
pandas.
psyop. Penguins are so
Supposedly pandas
created.
are fake.
I feel like pandas could be as fake as penguins. Even the color of them is a mockery. Like penguins only live in Antarctica. What are they? They're birds that don't fly. They're just like little
And
cameras.
waddle.
Yeah, they're just such a weird little thing. I watched an Antarctica documentary one time. If
Maybe
birds are fake, penguins the most fake.
I was gonna say maybe penguins like the first, like birds aren't real.
Yeah, it's such a it's even bad animatronics. It's like the animatronic birds that couldn't make it. They're like, oh, no one can really see these in person.
Maybe they were like the first ones, that Arnold worked on.
Yeah,
The
and
penguins.
they swim. They're little submarines and they guard all around Antarctica.
How interesting. We should go down this rabbit hole. This penguin hole.
Well, polar bears aren't even in the same
Penguins.
place as penguins. And how much do they draw those together in cartoons?
Mhm.
Polar bears are on the North Pole and penguins are on the South Pole. They're all probably fake. What are we doing? What is this?
Polar bears are probably just like an albino bear.
That's it. They're an albino bear that they're like, look at it swimming to an iceberg. And we'll just put this different story over it. No matter the story that they put over it makes so if they're like, this polar bear just won the polar bear Olympics, different story. And then you wouldn't
Well, all
think
you had to
global
do is
warming.
name it polar. Like make it a little chilly.
White bear. And it's
Little
the
chilly
Coca-Cola
bear.
bear. Where that Coca-Cola color came from. They
Is
probably
there a
created those as
bear
Santa.
emoji?
There is a
I'm
teddy
doing.
bear.
There's a teddy bear. Okay. Chaney, where can everyone find you?
ProjectChaney.com, Chaney in Wonderland, and Project Chaney on Instagram, Chaney at Chaney on Truth Social. And
Truth Social.
I'm like, of course, I finally got at Chaney and it doesn't matter. There's only 100 people here.
Dude, I thought like we were gonna get on Truth Social the next day, and that we were gonna like blow we were gonna have like 50,000 followers immediately. I thought
Trump
I'd post
doesn't
like
even have that
one
yet.
thing about Trump, and I'd be like, I'm back.
Trump doesn't even have that. I still have 13 accounts I haven't gotten yet. And I know other people I follow, but they're like, I can't get into my account. And I'm like, well, I see your account. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Yeah, you can find me those places. It's always fun.
You can find me at mymaria777 on Twitter and Instagram. My backups these days are the Oracle 333, mymaria4777. You can find me at mymaria777.com. And if you made it this far, you are now considered an elite member of the class. In order to show that you made it, please comment. Oh, you want to do the bunny rabbit?
Yeah.
Okay. Comment the bunny rabbit emoji on the next social media post that you see of mine.
And it'll be 89.
And it'll be 89. Thanks so much for hanging with me.
It's always easy. It always goes by fast. And we didn't really stay on topic or talk about the stuff we wanted.
Talk about any of the things.
I know.
How apropos for us.
I know, but that's easy. Yeah. I hope people like it.
I wish that we just recorded our phone calls all day long, to be completely honest.
That's where sitting in public or sitting in front of each other long enough with the cameras to get comfortable, that'll be all the fun stuff to edit.
For sure.
So,
For sure,
all right.
for sure.
Thanks for having me.